Level 90, sharing the wealth. Farshawn wishes to discuss the distribution of treasure. Shall we begin? If we are to spend the treasure wisely, then we must first determine which groups would benefit most from the monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. Tilly, you are to visit Akyali and Yedlamad, speak with Matsya and his people, and listen to their grievances. Stinian, I bid you do the same at Palakistan. I will be conducting my own inquiries at Giant Skull Grounds. Once you believe you have ascertained the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduda. Do, 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 do. Do, do. Oh, Zilly, I was so glad to see you had returned unharmed. You finished with the boat then? Anything the village desperately needs. Well, I suppose Kalzal's loss hit us the hardest. Been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell a few here and there, it's so much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavnair, then you must try my special Amra Lassi. Its refreshing zest cannot be beat. What could such a wonder cost, you wonder? No, normally I part with 3 bottles for the generous price of 19,800 gil, but for you I'm willing to go as low as an even 10,000. You'd be practically stealing from me. Stealing? At that price, you're the only thief around here. Still not turning a profit these days? I am not a Stinian. Stinian, who is Estka? You're the one who was with that spear-toting fellow. Well, you can hardly blame a man for trying. The world may no longer be on fire, but we are still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. Sisters, spare me. We might as well have that ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I myself barely have the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps in the street. Sigh. How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? Trade routes are open once more now that the danger has passed, certainly. No small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term. Add to that the sailors we lost in the final days, and it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. Kalzal and his consortium were with us. I'm sure he'd have found a way to turn our fortunes around now that it was a man who got things done, God's rest his soul. You've spoken with key local figures and gained an understanding of the populace's hardships. Farshawn awaits your report at Megaduda. Ah. Ah, my advisor's return. I've just made it back myself. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the island in a fraction of the time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least, and there are few places I can enter comfortably without risk of flattening some cart or stall. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palakistan were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources were stretched to the limit when refugees were pouring in, but they persevered with some assistance from Yedlamad. From what I understand, they have always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs for the most part. Pakistan has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself heard good news and bad. Quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having just sold a full wagon of giant's gold to a foreign trader. Such visitors are few and far between compared to our best years. The weight of stone leaving Thavner has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, its prosperity dependent on a steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade so we may begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Akyali and Yedlamad? I see. Without a dedicated buyer, the average fisherman must struggle to offload his daily catch. This is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yedlamad. I'm reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father lost at sea when the beast sunk their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale repeated over and over, so many lives lost. Enough grief to drown in if we let ourselves be overcome, but we will not. Silly Estinian, I will consider the perspectives you brought me and devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. Come, I would like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries.
I thank you for your attendance. The riches the Radiant Host have retrieved were hoarded in Al-Zadar's name. A fortune I set aside for a future day of need. And lo, that day hath come. May it aid our wounded city in reclaiming its vibrancy and vigor. In better times, I would leave such a task to our capable Ahawan. God's rest his soul. Finding myself bereft of his counsel in the here and now, I will assume the responsibilities of mine office directly. Firstly, the treasure shall be sold for more convenient currency. Thence, invested into the trading port of Yedlamad. Our merchants must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this, I am well aware. But an absence was created by the loss of Karzal's consortium. And by filling it, we provide new means for our fishermen, our artisans, and others to bring their wares to distant markets.
And what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. A simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted, leaving these young souls adrift on the fringes of our society. Nay, a proper solution is needed, one which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course?
Taxes. Levy them on trade profits in exchange for your investment. Takes a village. Idleshire's orphanage was funded through trade in highly coveted goods.
Of course. We can draw on trading profits to build a new institution. Let us put this idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Al-Zadal's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage. Now, such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name.
Something with Kalzal seems appropriate. Why not honor one of your most successful merchants?
A successful merchant? I believe I see thy reasoning. Kalzal should be remembered, not as the blasphemy which terrorized Thavne, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
Here, here.
This bodes well for that boy. Murad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation. Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor. Clerks, see to the management of our funds and make haste. Our citizens must not suffer a day more than is necessary.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. Reminded of Ishgard.
Level 90, sharing the wealth. Complete. Level 90, bridging the rift. The veteran Radiant wishes to share his gratitude. Thank you for putting forth Kalzal's name. Those whose lives he enriched will take comfort in seeing his legacy honored. You will forgive me for not speaking sooner, but I bear a message from Archon Ishtola. She asks that you meet her at the High Crucible at your earliest convenience. Understood, thank you. Ishtola must have finished her study of the Void Gate. Shall we hear what she has to say then? I'll go with you. Thought the satrap would be too busy setting up the foundation. My clerks have been the well-oiled cogs of this administration since before Iowan assumed office. They understand what needs to be done. I am curious to learn what conclusions your Archon has reached concerning the gate's unique construction. As you wish, allow me to lead the way, Your Excellency. Way upstairs and stuff, right?
Right, here we all are.
You discovered something new.
I took a closer look at that device. I was able to determine how it keeps the Void Gate sealed, but not how it might instead be employed to expand the opening. For that, I would need to reference the technique developed by Vitra's alchemists, no records of which appear to have survived the intervening years.
We know this, so why have you sent for us? Have you learned aught of value or not?
Patience, good sir. One must introduce the subject before launching into specifics. From what we understand, travel between worlds is accomplished by passing through the nebulous rift which exists between them. Picture, if you will, the moment you were called to the first. You touched a focus of some kind to help the Exarch pinpoint your location. His summoning spell then channeled the energies of the Crystal Tower to begin your journey to his world. The magics tore a hole in the wall separating source and shard, and cast you into the intervening nothingness. In that place, the laws of nature hold no sway. Yet even through this realm of temporal and spatial instability, you were borne safely to your destination in the first. The feat that guided you across such an unimaginable distance, both physical and metaphorical, was nothing short of a miracle.
Then what of the many voidsent found in the source? Who guides them here, and how?
An excellent question. Though there are several methods by which the Void's denizens might intrude upon our world, the rituals of summoning are the most typical. For example, let us consider the Gargoyle, a creature of middling power. To call upon such an entity, the prospective summoner must force open a void gate. The portal lasts but a moment and is relatively small, allowing only an imp or other lesser being to squeeze through with their physical body intact. Our more powerful gargoyle, however, is too large for that. Creating a gate big enough for him would require vast amounts of energy, far beyond the reserves of any one mortal practitioner. Instead, 'tis far more common to bring over only the entity's soul. We had a taste of that ourselves when a certain exarch dragged us to the first. And just as our bodies remained in our world, the Void Sense physical form is left behind in the 13th. Once at its destination, the summoned soul is granted a temporary shell to inhabit. In the gargoyle's case, a stone effigy has proven a suitable vessel.
Wait. You said that Voidsent must be called here deliberately by someone in the source, reeled in like a fisherman with his catch.
Exactly. For a being to navigate the chaos of the rift, with or without form, there must needs be a guiding agent on the other side.
When the hordes poured forth from Alag's Great Gate, it was the technologists who drew them through. Though to my knowledge, planar fissures are in essence natural passages between our world and the void, which require no such guidance to traverse. Why is only the boundary between the source and the 13th so fragile? So much so that it often tears open of its own accord.
I believe solving that mystery is key to understanding travel between the source and its reflections.
And how do you intend to get your answers?
No, the danger is too great.
Perhaps. But what some call danger, others think of as adventure.
Were you not listening to my tale? Never mind that the means to expand the gate has been lost to the ages. Even could you force the portal wide enough, you would be greeted by an army of murderous horrors the very instant you step through.
I assure you I was most attentive, and I agree that to go alone would be certain death. But if I were to bring along one who has already braved the 13th, and humbled the cloud of darkness, well, I imagine my chances would be much improved.
Yep. Count me in. So much for taking it easy.
I had a feeling you might say that. Once again, I put my life in your ever-reliable hands. That said, as much as I would like to march straight back to the Void Gate, there is the small matter of being unable to open it without the Satrap's personal authority.
As I've said before, I will grant you and yours any boon you choose to name, provided it does not endanger my people.
You have my word that we will take every precaution. Not a single Voidsent will be allowed to threaten Radzat Han, assuming we manage to expand the portal in the first place.
You have a plan.
Actually, I had hoped you might help us with that. I presume the alchemists you retained supplied you with some explanation of their methodology.
That they did. House Daymir was overseeing the project.
Daymir. Ah, yes. The family associated with the great work.
I did not fully comprehend the theory, but their research began with a void scent which had slipped through the fissure. After a thorough examination, they created an arcane simulacrum possessed of similar qualities. A man-made void scent, if you will.
A man-made void scent.
Yes. Being great admirers of the Archons, House Daymir submitted detailed notes to Charlene's official committee. They expected praise and accolades for their simulacrum, and were thus devastated to be informed that their work had been classified as prohibited material.
If that's true, then those notes might still be stored in a forbidden archive somewhere. Not Google, of course, since that library had yet to be built. Which leaves us with...
the restricted section of Numenon. Graha's favorite place to sneak around.
Indeed. Numenon's restricted stacks may very well hold a copy. In which case, I say we head directly to Charlene.
Unless you anticipate needing help to reach the high shelves, I see myself being of little use. Go on ahead. I still need to find Mirad and tell him about the Kalzal Foundation.
Not the library sword, is he?
Let us be on our way as well.
They are resolved to venture into the void. Do I sit idly by?
If we're to enter Numenon's restricted archives with a minimum of fuss, then we must secure the permission of the Forum. First, however, we shall need to enlist the cooperation of a member to broach the matter on our behalf. Who do you think might be inclined to assist us? No one springs to mind? What of Scholark Monteshane? He did come to Graha's defense during the inquiry, after all. Is settled. Let us head to Phenomenon and see if he's willing to help us once more. Stola is now accompanying you. Keep her at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. You can leave Stola behind by entering a different area or by speaking with her and selecting the option to part ways. If you wish to have Stola accompany you again, return and speak with her at the original location. Yes. That's where we have to go. Can we teleport? I guess it's better if we just run, huh? Little cardio. Discuss the studium. I apprenticed to Master Matoya at the age of 7 and labored under her tutelage for a full decade. I never had the chance to attend the studium. Neither did Thancred, as I recall. Soon after Master Louisoix took him in off the streets, he was put in the care of another Archon. His was a rigorous and practical education in the arts of espionage and survival. Sometimes wonder what my life might have been like had I pursued studies here instead. He at the last stand after a day of lectures? Should I wonder as well? Oh, never mind. 'Twas just an idle thought. Ah, visitors, and quite esteemed ones at that. What may I do for you? Pray forgive the intrusion, Skylark, but we were hoping you might help us secure permission to enter Numenon's restricted archives. Oh, no furtive forays into the stacks this time, eh? I applaud this newfound sense of propriety, yet in all this wide world of comparative serenity, what so compels you to disturb a vault of forbidden wisdom? Fascinating. I had no idea such a technique existed. Would have been surprised if you had. If my assumption is correct, the research left behind by House Demir has lain dormant in Charlian's archives for many centuries. And if you unearth this research, what then? Surely you don't intend to cross over into the void. That is, in fact, precisely what we intend. To what end, pray tell? Develop a method of traversing the rift, for one, and that I might keep my word to a distant friend. Sentiment aside, I have journeyed to the end of existence. I have heard, felt, and thought endlessly about the truth of our world and the echo of its future, and yet I want to understand everything, to unravel it all down to its very last secret. But scholar worthy of the name wouldn't force open a void gate or two if a grand revelation was the promised reward. Ah, marvelous. An audacious proposal worthy of Master Matoya herself. After hearing the whys and the wherefores, I, for one, do not believe you would use the knowledge for ill. See no reason not to present your request to the forum's consideration. Although your petition would be better received if you also had the support of another well-placed acquaintance. My Master Fortunal, of course. He can hardly ignore an earnest request from his dear children's most treasured comrades. I was hesitant to approach him directly, but there is no denying that having Master Fortunal on our side would tip the balance in our favor. Very well, we will pay a visit to the Levier estate and plead our case. One last thing before you go. I would consider it a personal favor if you might share with me the discoveries you make in the void. My appetite for knowledge is every bit as insatiable as yours, I'd wager, so if you could see your way to indulging an old man's curiosity. Of course, Skylark, we will be sure to pass on any revelations. There. Taking the long way. Ah, Mistress Zilly, Mistress Distola, how may I be of service? We've come to speak with Master Fortunal. Is he home by any chance? Yes, the Master is in residence. I shall inform him that he has guest. Well, well, Emiliance would invite you inside for tea, but I assume this is not a social visit. You have some matter of import to discuss? Then pray proceed. You have my full attention. Well, I suppose I should praise you for following the proper protocols this time around. Kellogg Montaigne expressed much the same sentiment. I assure you will not attempt to circumvent the forum's authority again, unless it is absolutely necessary, of course. Of course. You do understand that the restricted archives are restricted for good reason, yes? If no pressing need exists, then why risk the consequences of employing this forbidden knowledge? For a brother who misses his sister, she was his guardian and his friend, a selfless hero who crossed the rift between worlds to save her homeland from horror and suffering. The brother has given up on thoughts of reunion. He spends his efforts elsewhere, watching over a people yet healing from the flames of the final days, loyal to his duty while betraying the longing in his heart. He has no vital mission, perhaps, reuniting these siblings, but it feels a worthy cause to pursue all the same. As one who feared losing his own loved ones and spent years in research to prevent it, surely you appreciate how painful such a separation must be. Reflections are still very much a mystery to us. Offering to share your experiences in the first should constitute a fair exchange for our cooperation. Do not celebrate just yet. The forum must still be convinced. I will add your request to the list of today's deliberations and deliver the decision to you at the Baldizian Annex. I keep forgetting she was following me. So what did the forum decide? Put it bluntly, Master Matoya has burned some bridges here in Charlian and salted the earth for good measure. When it became clear that her student was the petitioner in question, well, no few members voiced their discontent. Then the chamber was reminded, in no uncertain terms, I might add, of the incredible debt we owe to you and your companions. That served to silence the grumbles and stiffen a few spines, and it was agreed that allowing you entry into the archives was the least we could do in return. That is wonderful news. Thank you both for speaking on our behalf. Yes, well, as I am sure you are aware, this permission was not extended lightly. Forbidden knowledge is to be treated with the utmost caution, and there will be repercussions if it is not. I wish you well in your endeavor and bid you good day. Ever the same, that one. Uncompromising, aye, but that very stoicism is exactly what Charlian needed to guide it through not one but two exoduses. That went rather well, I think. As a child, I dreamed up any number of schemes for getting my hands on those forbidden tomes, and now I can simply walk in through the door. Our focus will be on finding House Daymir's research notes, of course, but the thought of so much knowledge at my disposal has me feeling a little giddy. Level 90, Bridging the Rift, complete. Level 90, Restricted Reading. Montaigne is waiting to offer you further instructions. You'll be heading directly to the archives from here, I presume. You presume correctly. Then you'll want to speak with the index page when you arrive. It's been instructed to grant you access to the restricted section. Excellent. Once again, we thank you for all your help. Oh, it was my pleasure, believe me. You may find the knowledge you seek. May you find the knowledge you seek. Shall we? Stola is now accompanying you. Keep her at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. You can leave Stola behind by entering a different area by speaking with her and selecting the option to part ways. If you wish to have Stola accompany you again, return and speak with her at the original location. Where are we going? Here? Nope. Faster way to get there. Thought I could run straight there. But there was this little cliff. Just Numenon. To think the set of instructions I laughingly imagined may actually exist, but yalms away from where you found me napping. If I had known of Alzadal Third's exploits sooner, I could have saved myself days of research. Even a children's book might have pointed me in the right direction. To achieve the impossible, one must needs be flexible of mind and look beyond conventional wisdom. Lesson I had already learned, but clearly not taken to heart. Arcana Stola and guest identified. Do you wish to proceed into the restricted archives? Follow me if you would watch your step, and please note that the use of naked flames is discouraged.
If House Damir's notes are to be found anywhere, it will be here. Let us begin.
Today, in a world not my own, I met the most beautiful void-born creature. She was so unlike her ravenous brethren, eyes blazing not with hunger, but trembling like a candle's flame, threatening to flicker out at any moment. I wonder if she is even the proper word. Such distinctions seem inconsequential, insignificant even. All that matters is the love I feel for this exquisite, transcendent being. You are tempted to read more. This does not seem to be the volume you are seeking. The year 1564 of the 6th Astral Era, the Amalja summoned Ifrit, their patron god. Accounts describe the being as a gigantic lizard-like being with a potent command of fire-aspected magics. We consider that primal summoning as an act fueled by faith and prayer. It is unsurprising, if not expected, that the resulting deiform entity should manifest the appearance and powers with which it is attributed by its worshippers. What then might emerge from the ether should one who believes in an almighty omniscience attempt the same ritual? Would the scholar himself grace us with his presence, some other embodiment of divine sagacity? Could this man-made god truly be all-knowing, and if it were, whence would such knowledge arise? I myself have many questions concerning the nature of the ancient world. With no spell to transport me back to the days of old, could I instead summon a being possessed of encyclopedic wisdom of every age? Yet with no means to verify its pronouncements, how could one be certain they were true? Though your mind spins with the possibilities discussed therein, this does not seem to be the volume you are seeking. Following pages detail an advanced method for manipulating rift-spanning apertures as divided by Nuashan, the 9th patriarch of House Damir. We present these research notes to the faculty of Charlian Studium as both a token of our friendship and an expression of our boundless admiration. You appear to have located the forbidden volume you seek. Astola will need to make the final confirmation. Have something you'd like to show me, do you? My apologies, I flipped open but a single book and was completely absorbed by the contents. Well done, I think you may have found our prize.
Yes, the ether signature is unmistakable. I've felt the traces of House Damia's resonance many times at the Great Work. Time to see what all the fuss was about. Among the ranks of the Void Sent, there exist entities with the power to call forth their brethren from beyond. The species known as Atomos, however, is uniquely prodigious in this regard. From its distended maw, it can expel an endless procession of void-born creatures, a talent which sorely tested the Radiant Host in its battles against these abominations. Surmising that the entity itself was acting as a void gate, we endeavored to capture a small specimen and subsequently examine its physiological structure. Our findings revealed that the Atomos had absorbed a planar fissure into its own flesh, which it could expand at will into a functioning gate. Upon further analysis, we identified an ethereal wave pattern emitted during this process. A pattern we were able to emulate by passing crystal-stored ether through a specially designed prism. We proceeded to embed said prism into an arcane simulacrum, thus completing what we have dubbed our artificial Atomos. How could I have been so blind to the possibilities? This species, not to mention its ability to summon Void Scent, has been discussed among academics for years now. Just before the advent of the 7th Umbral Calamity, we received reports of Atomos sightings from every corner of Eorzea. Surely you've at least heard the tales. And still, House Damia went and built a mock Atomos of their very own. I'm not surprised the Archons consigned their work to a restricted archive. It was no easy task, but at last we've unearthed the volume we've been searching for. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't tempted to stay longer. See what other forbidden titles might be lurking on these shelves? Ah, but that would be abusing the very special privilege we've been granted now, wouldn't it? Better not.
Much as I would love to start crafting the Atomos, I'm afraid this is far outside my field of expertise. Fortunately, we know a Hannish alchemist who would be delighted to involve herself in our House Demir project. Our business here is concluded for the moment. Please pass on our regards to the forum. Your message will be conveyed. Should you wish to indulge in more forbidden literature, I will be here. Patron mode disabled. Security mode engaged. If anyone can help us, Nidana can. I say we return to Thavnair and look for her at the Great Work. Shola tells me you are pursuing a most fascinating study and that you want me to be a part of it. I have no doubt you will be interested. This research log should speak for itself. Will it now? By the sisters, this is the mark of House Demir. I never even knew such a work existed. You should. It was sequestered in Numenon's restricted archives, after all. It was, but that means every word within is forbidden knowledge. Forbidden tome filled with forbidden research, and you put it right into my unsuspecting hand. I can hardly wait to read it. To think the Demir were developing such marvelous techniques so long ago. How many innovations have been lost over the centuries, I wonder? Now that you've glanced over the notes, what say you to helping us build a new Makatomos? I say yes, 1,000 times yes. Work on a Demir project that had even the redoubtable scholars of Charlian trembling in their sandals, no alchemist of the great work could resist. You are a woman after my own heart. I suppose I should ask, what do you mean to do with this big mouth simulacrum once we've built it? So there's a secret void gate, and it's sealed in the ruins at the bottom of the bounty. Today is a day of revelations indeed. The purpose of our man-made Atomos is to expand this hidden portal, then I will need to see it for myself, I think. Manipulating rift-spanning apertures is not the sort of thing you want to attempt without first taking into account every single factor. And by all means, accompany us to the vault. I plan to lead us back there shortly, once we finish gathering the components I require. Charlian's markets provided the raw aquamarine and pure water crystals, but I might need help obtaining a small quantity of astrally infused water. For such a liquid, you need go no further than the font of Maya. The ascetics of old once favored the place for their meditations, and the water which pools there now is known to enliven the flow of ether. That sounds perfect. If you would be so kind as to fill a flask at the pool, I will petition Vitra to join us. The idea I have in mind won't amount to much without his authority to command the Void Gate. Shall we be about it then? We meet back here anon. Do you have the flask for me? Yes, this should suffice. Thank you. Level 90, restricted reading.